guys that are in this room, the people who have come to see me or I've talked to directly, you are the ones that truly, truly, truly do as you're saying. And there are people who put things out there and they become broken, they become weathered, they get ignored, they get blown around, and you're picking them up. I know there are cemeteries that have gotten strict and aren't allowing for stuff to be. I don't want us to be that way. I don't know if we need to have a happy medium of if it's attached and permanent, it stays. I think that it's worth addressing so that you guys know that once it's there, it's gonna stay there.
Here's the irony of this. Bill Goodman, 804 East First. I walk that cemetery a lot, and not just to be walking, but walk the graves, checking for war era grave markers for damage. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've walked through that cemetery at different times of the year, and there is ratty ornaments, flowers, plastic flowers, whatever, faded bleach white on those graves that have not been tended to. A lot of people come from out of town, put them on Memorial Day, and you never see them again until the next Memorial Day.
That's what I'm
And those flowers have been out there, and then all of a sudden we have this happen. That's what I'm saying. It is a beautiful cemetery when it's kept up. But I would like to know what is happening, and I'd also like to know, what the hell do we have a dump at the entrance of it for? What's the purpose of that? You drive up into Riverside Cemetery through the stone gate, and right to the right, you got a dump where the streets department is dumping whatever. It takes away from the whole cemetery. That area does not need to be used for a dump. It needs to be plowed up, seeded, and left alone. It's a sacred place. Not a place to dump stuff from the street sweeper. So, and Dan, I do disagree with you. It's not about the money, you said. It is about the money. People spend a hell of a lot of money on this. And people don't have the money, but they spend it for their loved ones who are buried out there. So it is about the money, as well as the principle. So I suggest that anybody who contacted you when this happened, Tammy, if they show up with a bill, I would put it on for approval by the council to be paid.
That's true. That's right, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, Bill, I want to expand upon, not only did they have to contact Tammy, but I think if they contacted any council member.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Even if they didn't contact us, how do you say, well, because you didn't contact us, we're not gonna make it right with you?
Tammy-
That's a tough one.
Tammy brought up the point that anybody that had a receipt from October 1st, say for instance, to the date that stuff was removed, that makes it timely if they came in with the receipt. And October 1st is just a date that came up during conversation, and that's a way to say, put some parameters on it if you want to. If you don't, don't.
You know,
But
that's the flowers, but all them saddles on top of the tombstones, you know, I know what you're saying, Bill. But them have been there, you know, too. Again, you hope people are honest if we do go that way. But yeah, something, but there's a lot of other stuff besides flowers.
Well, yeah, because the inserts were removed from a lot of the bases on the, that are gonna have to be replaced. There's
I
a
don't
lot
see
more
the
than just
receipt.
flowers involved in this.
I would, if it were me, I have to order flowers for Florida, New York, and California. I wouldn't have the receipts. I would just call it, do it, pay for it, be done with it. So there's gonna be people people that don't have receipts.
Hopefully people are honest. If we go that way, like I said, there's gonna
It's
be
on
some
them.
that are gonna
We're
try
gonna-
to, but
If we do what's right, we've done what we can. If people are not honest, that's on them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds as if majority of the council is in agreement for the reimbursement if a receipt can be provided.
Are you gonna put a timeline on it as far as, like,
Have it done by.
a year from now still doing it, or a month from now if they have a receipt? Cause some people might not have replaced their items yet and gotten a receipt, that's my question.
By the time any type of notification has been released as to what our actions are gonna be, I would see no reason why by the end of the month, those receipts couldn't be brought in. Now, maybe that is not long enough.
Or the purchase be made by then. I mean, even if they don't bring the receipt until next month, at least the purchase is made by a certain date. It must be replaced by, I don't know, that's a tough one.
Cause I know my mom had to order new inserts and she hasn't received them yet. And who knows how long it will take to actually get the bill, to know how much.
And inserts ought to be automatic. I mean, somebody's gotta order inserts.
End of the year,
I don't think that you need to sit here and split hairs over this. If somebody comes to you with a legitimate claim, it needs to be reimbursed.
I was gonna say, Bill, not to contradict what you had talked about earlier, but I don't think this council at this point should make it about the money either. So which goes along with what Bill's saying, is there's no need to split the hairs. You know, the end of the year, I guess I wasn't thinking to provide the opportunity to reimburse for replacements. I was looking at receipts for what had been removed. But to provide the replacement and the reimbursement for that, again, we should not be making this about the money at that point. No matter what we say, we're not going to soften what has occurred. We all are apologetic of it, wish it didn't happen. Those that do nothing don't make mistakes. Those that do make mistakes from time to time.
And in the end, there's 3 paragraphs in that ordinance that you guys are gonna have to rewrite.
Yeah, I've been eyeballing those for 20 minutes now.
Because when Greg got done, it met the ordinance.
Hi, Sue Crump, 420 Holt Street. I just wanna say, Tammy, I really appreciate your apology. But the day I had to go out and dig through flowers and try to find my daughter's wedding flowers that she left on my dad's grave, the city employee that was out there not only offered no apologies, but he also ignored every comment I made while I was digging through flowers and helping an older gentleman try to find the fence that Rich had talked about. So, Tammy, I appreciate your apology. I just wish when I was out there, because my mom isn't able to go out there, that the employee that was there basically ignored all my comments. You know, a simple, I'm sorry this happened, would have gone a long way.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we need to devise some type of plan here.
Do you wanna dig into the ordinance, is that what you're indicating?
I think we need to
Right.
put that on the agenda
Well,
as a item, and if there needs to be things changed in the ordinance, we should have it.
So
But-
you want time to study this and then bring it back to the council and then discuss what
I'm,
you're,
What I would like to
Options
do is first resolve the reimbursement, the
That's-
time frame. To me, that is the most important matter that is before us right now.
that's kind of where I was going.
I'm not saying the ordinance isn't important, but it is not the front burner important. We should be taking care
well,
of
the
that.
other issue is that, not to speak for Dolores or Janice, but their concern was putting stuff out. Before you go on and talk about reimbursement, is everything gonna be, if they put stuff out and it's not on the ground, back on in their bases, their urns, or whatever you call them, and then your top pieces, if it's not on the ground and they're not mowing, can they replace those items and?
I have a feeling that there will be no mowing for about 6 months, so we'll be good.
And I have the understanding that a lady from Gotcha said the stone is private property. Nothing can be taken off of the stone.
According to the ordinance, she's not correct. She is not correct according to the ordinance.
So those saddle flowers can be removed then, right?
According to the ordinance, and that's why I made the
Maybe
comment.
Bill, maybe the ordinance needs to be revisited.
And that's
We
what I
just
said,
discussed
if you were
that.
listening, Bill.
Don't talk down.
Where's
So-
some comments?
Alright, so I can only speak for 2 years. I've been on the council for 2 years. This is the first, issue that I know of has occurred. And maybe it's the first time it's occurred to this magnitude. Has this ever happened before?
Not since I've been here.
Not since I've been on.
Then why can't we tell the public to go about doing the business that you did in the past? We can pick this ordinance apart, etch it in stone, and finalize it. So wherever you have put flowers, stakes, shepherd's hooks, whatever, please feel free to do it again. We need to get the reimbursement taken care of. And then we can pick this ordinance apart. The ordinance may just need to be tweaked and fine-tuned, because we've never had an issue before.
And it
Well,
would be,
I
sorry.
think part of the issue on this ride was the fact the cemetery was closed for a whole month, open for 3 days. And so in those 2 days prior to this, people may have gotten in there and put new flowers on, and they were gone on the 3rd day with no notice. And that's where the problem comes in, is there was no notice.
That might be
So that
the
was
most
part,
important part of it.
yep, that's the big part of this, is without there being notice for people to go out and retrieve any items, they had no opportunities.
I agree, Rich.
So that may be one reason why it never happened in the past, is notice was given.
Not only that, Rick, but it was just a total lapse of common sense.
I agree with that.
I guess I don't understand where the city has the right to come in when, isn't that private property? You buy the plot, you buy the stone, you put stuff on top of stone, and the city can.
Are you mowing
It's
it?
actually,
Are
it's
you
actually
maintaining
leased,
it?
you guys don't,
But
you have
it's on
burial
stone,
rights
it's
there?
not-
No,
Okay,
but I'm
mowing.
just saying that the property isn't private.
Let's
city-
let's tread sensitively.
You're
Right.
correct.
We are
Right.
No.
starting to get a little
But-
personal,
We need to get back to
yes.
this current issue, I think.
As I
and-
say that, I'm not trying to be dismissive
Yeah.
to
No,
anybody.
and I apologize. I'm like, you mow it?
I can't believe it happened. I just.
I know,
it's like-
and nobody
Like there
can.
aren't bigger fish to fry in this community.
It
than
just wasn't,
Messing with people's flowers at the cemetery, good grief.
it's an oversight. It shouldn't have happened. We are owning it, so. I agree.
So reimbursement?
Anybody who brings a receipt in, no
Do
questions
you wanna,
asked.
somebody wanna
Set a
make,
time frame by the end of the year.
You wanna make a motion on
I'll
that?
make a motion that reimbursement occur for receipts brought in.
Are you gonna require a receipt?
For replacement,
Flowers we had out there,
okay,
Russ,
go
Russ,
replace them and
Russ.
bring the new receipt in. That's what we're talking about.
Mr. Mayor.
If you're missing them, replace them, bring the new receipt in.
okay,
I don't know how else to do it.
Authorize,
Supposed to get up and come to the podium if you want to
No,
talk.
I was just asking a quick question.
Well, you should have got up to the podium.
Ron. Motion to authorize reimbursement
And replacement,
for replacement,
Reimbursement or replacement.
yes. For items that were removed.
With
Use
receipt.
December 31st by the deadline. Now, once again, I'm not gonna make this about the money. So if someone comes into City Hall on the 3rd of January and says, here's my receipt, pay the thing, you plug an adjective in.
so just for clarification, cause I have a question also on it, but, so the motion is, motion to authorize or replacement for items removed with receipt if turned in to the city by December 31st. Right? So they bring in a receipt, it's here by December 31st. My question to you is, council approves bills once a month. You wanna see those on the listing once a month?
I would like to see a separate listing.
You
of-
will see a
No,
separate name.
I wanna see a separate listing outside of the normal.
Well, the name's gonna be on the, I don't have a
Here's,
choice.
create a spreadsheet of every one that's paid out between now and the end.
So you want me to
Pretty
write it?
simple.
No, it's not.
Well,
You
yes
want me
it
to
is.
write a hand check for every single
Well,
person?
no. It's gonna, put it on your expense
Bill list,
but
do a separate
But do a
spreadsheet.
separate
I
spreadsheet
can
for
do
it.
Generate the
that.
checks
That's what
when
I
you
needed
normally do.
clarification
Yeah,
on.
because your bill list goes in alphabetical order, so you're gonna have anybody from
Right,
A
I
to
don't-
Z
Gotcha.
spread out. What Rod wants, I think, Rod, if I'm understanding you right, everything condensed on one
I
spreadsheet so
can do
we
that.
can see and track who gets paid and how much
That's
they're paid.
fine. And then the next question will be is what expenditure line item? So,
What's the budget look like in the cemetery?
we don't have a line item in the cemetery for this. So I can create a line item.
I would say cemetery replacement or something. Make it, I mean,
Someplace.
it's gonna be temporary, hopefully we never do this again,
Right,
So Rod made it
just
first.
so we know.
Take it out of whichever one you want. It's all the same pocket, but I do get the traceability for, you know.
well, I would
If
say,
it was the street department's there, pull it out of the street
yeah,
department.
that's where I would go with it.
Well, you can't use road use tax funds.
Well,
so
No.
that's
I
the
know,
general
but
fund.
You know what,
we're beating up too much on the back end. We just need to get moving forward, and what we're doing is not good right
So
now.
who's gonna make a second? Cause I didn't hear one.
I'll second it.
Wow, the private sector is so much easier than the public sector.
Any,
The first and second.
any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 6.9,
Bill
discuss.
Goodman, one last time.
I didn't realize we were done either.
To all the council, thank you for doing what was right. Thank you.
Thanks, see you guys.
What are we going to do now with the ordinance? Are we gonna put it on the agenda for the next
That's
meeting?
what it was said, to put it on the agenda so we could fix it.
I would like to have a
I remember
conversation.
saying that. How bad did we err in the current agenda? Or, excuse me, the current ordinance? Where, if we,
You have a
Did
copy
not-
of it there.
yes, I'm looking at it and I'm still trying to figure out where the shortcoming was.
And sensitivity.
Yes, I'm not downplaying that.
All I'm saying is, put it on the agenda, we might do nothing to it,
Fine.
we might change it, let's table it. That's the third part. Own it, apologize, fix it. Make sure it doesn't happen again. That's all,
So you're gonna put it on the next meeting?
sure.
To review the ordinance. then we're gonna give it to the city attorney to draft something, or are we going to?
You're gonna have to decide how hard you wanna enforce this, because when Greg got done with those headstones, he basically had it looking like the ordinance says it was supposed to look. It's very similar to the same thing that I did to the to the cemeteries that I took care of. The thing that's different in this case is we didn't give prior notification that the headstones were going to be cleaned off. And I did not remove all of the accoutrements and the toys and the rocks and all that stuff in the 3 cemeteries that I took care of, but I did remove flowers because that was part of the rules of operation for those 3 cemeteries, both in the spring, before Mother's Day, and in the fall, before Memorial Day. So you could put fresh flowers on for Memorial Day, go back out there and you do your Halloween stuff, you do your, or Labor Day, you do your Christmas stuff, and then in the spring, the families knew that they needed to remove that stuff by date certain, so whatever was left was to be removed by myself, taking care of the cemetery, or whoever followed on behind me. And that was Forest Chapel, Cass, and Holy Cross. So you have differences there, townships and private cemetery, but not the city-owned cemetery. And so I guess the thing is that based on the discussion you had early on this topic is that you're gonna have to decide how you want to address those accoutrements that have meaning to the family.
That's not part of my concern. I'm just, as I read the ordinance, I don't see where there's, the direction to remove everything is there, and I don't see where the direction to remove nothing is there.
What the direction is under N, as in November, is that there should be none of that stuff on the headstones. But it has become common practice that families put that stuff.
I think it's worth just reviewing and coming back with a fresher
And
look.
deciding how, and
And we
see,
might do nothing.
and N is very restrictive.
Hi, may I speak? I'm Jane Conrad, 807 East First Street, and I had things removed also, but I think as far as the ordinance goes, it was probably written a long time ago, before we had all the artificial and the other things that we have today. And fresh flowers, I mean, there's nothing that looks worse in a cemetery, it's dead flowers on somebody's grave. I mean, that's pretty tacky. But today, we can use other things, and so I think you do need to look at how it reads, because, and it can get junky. I've seen junky. But there's the little old lady, and maybe she only can afford those plastic flowers. But once they're faded, yes, and maybe you should have cleanup twice a year. Monticello does that. They advertise it, and you have a chance. I mean, if you have, and there are the people that come through and they visit a grave and they're traveling and they're not going to come back. And somebody has to look after that because it does look bad. And they're not going to come back. They can't do that. And so it's hard to decide who's taking care of this and who isn't. But some it's quite obvious. But I think with the artificial stuff, it's a little bit different. And then if you notify people in the town crier or the paper that's free, because not everybody takes, you know, the local paper, and then it's heads up. And I think you could eliminate a lot.
It's definitely worth reviewing and coming up with a policy and procedure in the cemetery.
And you know, some cemeteries had all flat stones, so you could mow.
I know.
And so now that you have these, you can put things on top and keep out of maintenance way. So you do review it, and I think you can fine tune it,
Thank you.
and we can keep going forward.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you. 6.9, discussion and possible action on appointment of Mike Schaefer to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
We currently have the one remaining vacancy on planning and zoning, and they've received this one application for that.
And this is for the position at the last time that somebody was voted not to be on it, correct?
Correct.
Has there been any other inquiries from the public other than Mr. Schaefer, who's before us?
Not for planning and zoning, no.
I'll make the motion to approve Mike for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
First,
And as far as discussion goes, I'm gonna agree to it, but I just for the record would like it stated that this is a relative of a couple council members.
thank you.
Couple.
Just
Well,
Who's two?
Just-
Who's
I
the other one?
wasn't gonna just pinpoint
You
someone.
can just say that he's my father. I'm
For
okay
the
with it.
record,
I'll own up to it.
He's a relative of council,
It's no difference to me.
or did last time.
All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried.
Was that unanimous? All six?
That board is
I'll
completely.
vote no if it
That's
makes
not,
everybody feel.
why do you gotta go negative on this?
Because it's Cody.
I just asked if it was a unanimous, all six.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it was.
Nobody recused themselves.
6.10, discussion and possible action on appointment of Tammy Seeley or Diane Weber to the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
One vacancy and two applications.
And they're both equally qualified. Who put their name in first?
Tammy Seeley. Diane Weber's, we just got the Wednesday's board meeting, not just last week. Mhm.
I make a motion, we put Tammy Seeley on the Board of Adjustments.
Second.
First by Betty, second by Rod. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried.
May I ask again if it was all unanimous, 6 votes?
Yes.
Thank you.
6.11, discussion and possible action improving easement agreement between the City of Anamosa and Interstate Power and Light Company.
This is an overhang easement. Their alliant basically puts the crossbars on it, and the transmission lines are held by the original company that they paid for that easement. So it just stays within that footprint. It's standard procedure for the two companies working together.
Move to approve.
First by Bill,
Second.
second by Rich. Any discussion?
None of the city supervisors can see any issues with this?
There shouldn't be any issues, cause it's the one that,
I wanna touch base with all the supervisors to make sure that they have seen this and are on board.
the only department head that it affects would be Dan Smith and the wastewater, cause that's the area that it's in.
And,
I would move the
well,
last one for him.
And it's right in the same,
It's within the same easement,
Yeah.
right, it's a smaller
On the
easement
same
within
structure.
the same easement, so,
so it's structures that are already in place.
correct. All they're gonna do is put the power lines on it and maintain it.
Some underbuild. Do you have
ready,
a first and a second, or do you need a?
I got first and second.
No.
All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 7.0, public safety. 7.1, motion approved The renewal of beer and liquor license, none. 7.2, discussion and possible action on street closure request to hold the annual parade of lights on Main Street on November 24th at 6 p.m. and reindeer run to follow.
This is the same as
Move to approve.
last year.
Second.
First by Bill, second by Cody.
And in discussion, I just want to add that once the council approves street closures for themes, they don't get changed until they come back to the council again.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 8.0 Public Works. 8.1 Discussion and possible action on updated equipment sharing use policies and associated fee schedule.
For the last discussion at the council meeting, the department heads went through and updated all these fees. We removed some that weren't appropriate, for use. And so it was Dan and Jim and Greg.
It looks like
So
we
moved.
adjusted some. Second.
As long as they're happy with it.
They're all
what we
gone,
asked
so
them
we
to do.
can't ask them.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it was a nice touch to add that manpower
Mm-hmm.
in case they get it
I do too.
either way.
Tammy, was that over and above the jettison truck? Did that involve other equipment as well?
The jetter truck automatically is, goes out with one city employee. So that fee is just, it's for the equipment and the employee per hour.
Do we share any other equipment with other communities is what I meant?
Well,
Oh, the only thing we share right now, well,
Bill, if you want to talk, come up
we
here,
have a
please.
street patching machine that we have shared policy on, but, and I think they've helped other communities, but not.
well, Bill, maybe what you're asking is,
Rich,
like,
he needs to come up here
Well-
if he's gonna talk.
I'm just gonna answer his question. He's
well-
he's sitting right now. I'm just gonna
He-
answer his question.
Get out of order.
Okay, now that you're standing there, Bill,
Okay.
it includes the street sweeper, the end loader, and dump truck. Each one of those goes with one employee. And then there's also a skid loader, a chipper, jackhammer, air compressor, portable pumps. Those are the pieces of equipment that are on this list.
Okay.
I think that's what you were asking.
Yes. Thank you.
And that goes for everybody else sitting here. That's the equipment that is on the list.
All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 9.0 Finance. 9.1 Discussion and possible action on resolution authorizing and approving a loan and distribution agreement and providing for the issuance and securing the payment of $1,801,000 water revenue bonds, series 2017.
This was prepared by the bonding attorney.
So moved.
First by Betty,
Second.
second by Bill. Any discussion? It's a roll vote.
John,
Yes.
Rod,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
9.2 Discussion and possible action on resolution approving the hiring of full-time police officer and setting the salary for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018.
So
Yep.
moved.
Second.
First by Cody, second by Rich.
Again, Bob, this is to fill the 8th position that's currently vacant.
Yes,
And this will get you back to numbers you had maintained in the past.
that's correct.
So we're looking at, setting the wage, the salary. And that, is that gonna come in at the level 4? Or,
I believe that
I'm a
was,
little still confused after 2 years of how the pay scale actually works. Is it per? This, which is the City of Anamosa Police Department,
yes,
so this is what you're gonna bring the candidate in at?
yes.
So what it is a step 4, which constitute 3 to 4 years of law enforcement employment
Experience, yes.
experience, yes.
And he already has uniforms, doesn't he, for Anamosa?
Some, not all of them,
Current part-time officer.
yes.
I have a question about the probationary period. You said, if you decide no probationary period is needed, there would not be a raise for him once he successfully went through probation. What does that mean?
A few years ago, Al had made some suggestions on this type of situation, that somebody brand new would automatically have a probationary period.
But
It
he's
is,
been here 6 months, right?
I'm sorry,
But he's been here 6 months.
correct.
I understand the probation, and
Okay.
I understand all that. I
Okay.
don't understand the sentence that if we decide no probation period is needed, so no probation period, and then you said there would not be a raise for him once he successfully went through probation.
Okay.
The normal probation.
Do you understand that?
Yeah, it's easy.
And last time we went through this, where we had the thing of the pay raise, yes or no?
Yes,
And
yes.
there was a disgruntled employee, I just wanna prevent that from happening.
If there is no probation, there would not be a raise at 3 months at the end of that probation, because he would not have a probation. He would start out at the level that he was designed to start out at,
And stay at that.
and stay at that until the next contract year or his
Anniversary date.
anniversary date. Thank you.
Or the annual increase.
I'm sorry.
Or the annual increase if the
That's
council
right,
chooses
that's
that
right.
for
Budgeting.
budgeting.
So, are we gonna consider his 6 months of employment probationary period?
This was something that Tammy and I discussed, and I first of all, I didn't want anybody to think that I was saying that, yes, we can do that. I'm looking for guidance from the council.
From my perspective, with the years of employment with Cascade, being part of the J-Cert, being ILEA certified, being here already for 6 months, I don't see a need to have him on probation. He's already been out there by himself probably.
Yes, he has.
And this is just relating to his wage. So in other
Yes.
words, because he's already had 6 months, over 6 months of experience, he's already been trained and through a probationary period with the city. So his wage will start at what it would have happened after a probationary period.
That's correct.
And then, but his benefits do relate to back to the higher date for the full-time. Health insurance, dental, all that. This is just his wage that we're talking about in this situation.
How many steps do you have? You're bringing him in at step 4.
Totally 7. The first one is when they start out and they've not been academy certified, is technically not a number, but there's 6 steps after that.
Can you get me, and I don't, maybe everybody, but what quantifies step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, all the way to step 7? So that in the future, as you're doing hiring and you're bringing them in at different steps, it would be nice to know how them are determined.
This is something that was designed by a previous chief. I've seen it in other agencies, so I didn't
That's
balk
fine.
about it at all. Rod happens to have a copy if you'd like to see one tonight, but I can definitely get you copies if you wish.
And it defines what determines what step they go in?
It doesn't,
My years of
there are years of
Okay.
experience
Perfect.
guides what category they're put into.
Perfect. Or you can just email me one too.
One-
Sure.
So, Bob, as we had talked prior,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
one of the concerns I have is, again, in the private sector, when you bring an employee in and you start them at a higher salary than your current staff, you can really get the buzz going. And that will occur by 3 current full-time officers.
Yes.
So as I look deeper into this, 2 of those officers are currently at step equal to or greater than, and will be making less with the information that I have received.
You're asking about the ones that are making less than, potentially less than him. Again, those officers have less experience. One officer was hired with just over a year's experience, actually 2, I believe, were hired with just over a year's experience. So those 1 or 2 years' experience were considered in determining what their salary was to be set at.
So you've stayed true to the STEP program.
In the last, in the STEP program, yes, yes.
So every time you've hired somebody, they fell right in their rank of years experience.
That's correct. At least for the last 4 or 5 years, we've done it that way.
Now I'm gonna drag this out because I'm really confused now.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Just what you didn't want.
It's all right.
We have an officer that was hired in 2012, hired per hire date. He's currently at step 5 and will go to step 6,
Correct.
making less than you're gonna bring this new officer in.
That would be incorrect.
That's by what I have here.
What's the date on that
And the new
spreadsheet?
officer has 4 years of
2008.
experience, just so you guys know.
2017-18. This was provided to me on 11/13 at 7:57 a.m. And this was in correspondence with Bob on the 10th of November.
Who are you talking about?
So he's at step 5, gonna go to step 6. And he's making 2302. And we're gonna bring him in at 2235.
Okay, so
Pull him
he's
back
here,
up.
but we'll go up to this one.
Okay.
Okay, step 6, step 6 is top patrol officer, salary. That's basically how it's set up. They don't go up because of steps after that. They've reached the max.
So then we're looking at 2 of them. Step 4 going to step 5 in June of 2018. He'll make less than the new officer.
But remember, when he started out at the very bottom right here because he was not certified. He was not ILA certified.
He's currently in step 4.
Okay, which is this one right here. Yes.
So we'll go to this.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
In the meantime, he's gonna be making, this is what he's currently making.
He's at step 3 right now, and he'll,
And this says he's at step 4 going to 5.
okay, all right, I'll have have to look at that. That might have been a typo on my part.
How many years has that one been? The one you're talking about?
2015 was his hire
2015
date.
he was hired.
And he had no experience.
That's correct. The experience he had, he was a federal investigator for the military. So that experience was considered, but it's not law enforcement. He was not ILA certified, so that's why he started out in the lowest spot. The experience was considered for the fact that he got hired.
Okay.
It was not considered experience under his pay. So,
Do some cities take military experience? No?
I don't think so.
They give you points, civil service gives you 5 points toward your higher points.
But
And
not,
give you 5 points for a college degree too, but not, no, they would look at that officer and say, well, 3 or 4 years down the road, he'd make a good investigator because of his background in the military. But that's the only consideration you get in a department.
And we're talking about a higher level of professionalism within the police department, law enforcement, that this may be a non-issue for you because your officers aren't so concerned about it.
you know, there might be an occasional officer that runs into this situation that's frustrated. He's been here a couple of years, that all of a sudden so-and-so brand new is making more than him. But after sitting down and explaining the situation to them, they understand. They're still frustrated, you know, they'd like to make more money, but, you know, it's coming. It's coming, their step's coming.
I'd like to make more money too.
Wouldn't we all?
But the years of experience on the street do matter.
You're good with this, then
I am.
Pardon me? I am good with it. I hope you folks are too.
I would encourage us to forego the probationary period for this officer.
I also agree with that too. He's been here for 6 months and has done a very good job.
And is part of the JCERT team already and
Yes. They speak very highly.
brings a high level of training with him already.
Yes.
and I'm okay with it, I just didn't want the confusion we had the last time.
And we have a strong sergeant who is willing to mentor his officers, take care of that problem if it becomes a problem.
Don't stroke him too much. And that's a roll vote.
Rod,
yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
10.0 City Administrators Report.
Okay, I don't have anything except from Pat Callahan. He needs to know an idea from everybody on what time this Wednesday you plan to visit with him on the resumes. It takes approximately 45 minutes. He'll be here at 2 o'clock. He's gonna set up 2 rooms. We can put 3 council members in each room. He'll have copies ready for you to look at with a score sheet. He just was trying to get an idea on time-wise and if you guys are gonna be spread out or not spread out. And 6 o'clock, he's gonna do the work session, a short work session. And just to update you, he has received 20 resumes as of the deadline.
Good.
So, he got 9.
I guess
Within
the
the last few
election
days.
didn't go well in some communities.
Yeah, that could be. So, before you leave, or if you could give me an idea, I won't tie up the meeting, but just if you have an idea that day,
All right.
that's all I had.
That's good, 20's good.
Woo-hoo.
11.0 Mayor and Council Reports on Boards and Commissions.
We had a fire board meeting last week to set the budget, and I think it went pretty well.
We improved the equipment fund $10,000 a year, but in reality, it only raised the budget about 5.